interesting thing about Germany, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart, you're doing it.
What is this body? 180 plus elements working in a harmonious relationship to produce this orgasmic configuration, the human body, right? And it's animated by the real thing, the energy, the divinity. When this body, when this group of elements have spent itself, depleted itself, and broken down, what happens to the energy that is you? My grandmother was dying, and I went home. And my grandmother raised all of us, even though my mother and father was in the house. My mother and father were more like brothers and sisters. My grandmother and grandfather, they were the bosses. And then I had my great-grandmother there, and she was even more of a boss. And so when Mama was dying, and Mama was a traditionalist, we call her root woman down in South Carolina. And so my mother called and said, if you want to see her, you need to come home quickly. So I jumped on a plane and I flew to South Carolina. And I got to her bedside. And she asked everybody to leave the room. So I said, oh Lord, what's going on now? And she told me, she said, James, she used to call me James. Because in certain African language, you can't, the word J don't exist, so you don't pronounce, so her J was a G. And she said, James, I want to go home. I said, well, Ma, you don't have to stay here. I thought she wanted to go back home to the house, you know. I said, I'll tell him now to take you home. You could die there. She said, oh, no, I don't want to go back there. She said, I want to go home. And then I got a little scared right about there. Right? Mom said, she don't want to go back to the house on the plantation. We ain't got no other home, right? I'm thinking that. She said, I want to go home. And so I said, well, Mom, what do you want me to do? She said, come and take me up out of here. I said, ma'am. She said, come take me up out of here. She told me to come and take that spirit out of her body and let her go. I was so scared, I did not know. I just was short of wetting my pants, and I remember, put my two arms under her arms, pull her chest up, and I slid her back up on the pillow. And she took a deep breath, and she was calm. She said, you could tell the others to come in now. And I did. And the next day I flew back to New York, and I called that morning. My sister, oh, after you left last night, Mama was sitting up there eating grits and catfish, and she was just having a good time talking about Pete and all of them. And while she's talking to me, Mama passed. We give that, sometimes we call it the ghost. That energy finds another being to reside in until it gets this new body. Or it could reside in your ecology, because it's energy. In one of the Yoruba traditions says you have, I think, 8 times to come and go. And you have 12 steps to fulfill in each of the 8 coming and going. To perfect yourself so that at the end of that period of time, you go back and merge with the greater force of energy in the total universe. But if you don't complete your journey, because you're now here fooling around with all the negative and sliding and dodging, then you got to come back and repeat the process went over until your time is done. The whites took from that the concept called purgatory. If you study your history, it'll make the rest of the world so simple. It just make it all so simple. You know? Because this thing about love, you ever been in love? Girl, see, I like it. In the African sense, love is not loving your body or loving your looks or loving your personality. Africans love the God in them, which they have spent their whole life cultivating, meaning those Africans who are in our senses, because we're out of our senses both at home and here, thanks to colonialism and slavery, but we're coming back. It is the God in me that seeks the God in you, because I know the God in me, and thus I can recognize the God in you. That's what love is about. They make us think love is about the shape of your hips, the contours of your face, the color of your clothing, the type of hairstyle, the smoothness of a personality presentation. Most people who present their personality is putting the best foot forward. And it's almost always false, you know. And all of us have been there. I thought I was in love so many times. So Lord have mercy. And one girl had me running down the street chasing a car crying in the middle of the night. Yes, I was. I was almost 17 years old. I ain't gonna call her name because she's still alive. She's my friend too. We're still friends to this day. Another one had me drinking a fifth of Beefeater gin a day mixed with vanilla ice cream and orange juice. That's when my mother called my brother and said, that's enough. You need to take him out to California and put him in the lumber mill and let him work it off. But learning African culture is learning how to be the divine again. Our culture is about divinity. There was a Nigerian leader, more contemporary religious leader, that called it Godism. That our culture is about godness, godliness, Godism. That's what we're striving to be. We're striving to be the essence of the divinity we've described. Now, none of us is the ultimate divinity. We all expression of aspects of the divine essence having this human experience. But being aware that each aspect contains the totality of the possibility of the entire organism. That's what our culture teaches. Drum rhythms. Listening to a drum. I could go and see an Ashanti man take the talking drum and go dum 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 dum, and somebody hears it as language. Or I can go among the Achim and they do it with a horn. And the person who speaks the Achim language hears the horn and understands it as language. And I know that those vibrations that our ancestors agreed upon has to do with the multiple pulsations of our body and the organs and the cells in our body. Every organ in your body gives up its own pulsation. But every cell in your body gives up its own pulsation. What happens when you feel somebody? I just felt the brother. I just knew he was for me because I felt him. Because his energy is vibrating at a frequency very close to the frequency at which yours is vibrating. But because we don't have an understanding how to build relationship, we end up building relationship on the physical attachment and attraction rather than on the deep esoteric or spiritual element that hasn't brought us together. So when we study culture, music is not culture. Music is a tool of culture. Dance is not culture. Dance is a tool of culture. Drama is not culture. Drama is a tool of culture. What is culture? Culture is the world view of a people that has been passed down from ancestry, from time unknown. You know, that's it.